All right, we are live. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Bob Lee and I, who's my guest, are going to have to talk very, very loudly because it is loud at the Citrus Club. Welcome to the TED Show. We're at a big number, episode 90 today.
Wow.
I know, and most of you know jokes. I'm not 90. I might look 90, but I'm not 90. I'm just excited to have you on. Danny, if you're watching, will you please let us know you can hear us and see us? Julie Little, you too. We are going to talk as loud as possible. And I want to introduce my friend. What a class act. He always is a class act. Bob Lee. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, so
thanks for having me on.
Give him a hard time if you can't hear him, because the whole thing is I can talk loud because I've got the microphone. Hey, Carrie, what's happening? So let us know you can hear us and see us. That's always clear and loud. Thank you so much, Danny. A little bit of static, I know, Rebecca. It's crazy in here. So keep us posted on the static, and I'll try to adjust as we go.
Please, I'll talk low. I typically
Bob's apparently a low talker, so wow. Maybe I'll have to interpret everything you say. Well, look at that smile, the quintessential Bob Lee smile that's captured in all your pictures. So welcome. Thanks for agreeing to be on the show. I appreciate it. And you've got a fantastic story and a great history. So let's learn a little bit more about Bob Lee. If you looked at his bio for the show, he wrote it in first person, which was awesome. That's how he keeps the ladies close. Yes, Julie? That is absolutely true. So give us a little bit of background on you, Bob.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
Very much. Let me see, where do I start? I was born north of here. I am from a city, and I think they just had snow this last week, actually, a place called Daytona Beach.
Is that where you were born? You're probably going to have to talk louder, I'm going to guess.
Talk any louder.
Yes, you can. Here you go. Come on, Bob.
I'm talking louder. How's
there
that?
You go. Pretend you have vodka, just like I'm pretending I have coffee. You'll be good.
Oh my God, he really does have vodka, guys.
It's a lie, allegedly.
No, right. So yeah, I am from Daytona Beach. Born there. Moved to West Volusia, to DeLand, when I was about 6 months old. Got tired of the tourist element of Daytona Beach, and my parents actually came with me. And,
oh, they did?
Yeah,
that's good.
They did.
They went with you. That's good. You weren't an orphan, just living on that.
I was not an orphan. I had a really good childhood, and I basically was raised in West Volusia County in DeLand, and grew up there. Went to grammar school, George W. March. So I went to the high school there, and after high school after high school I went into the Marine Corps.
Thank you for serving. That's amazing.
You're very welcome. I
appreciate
proud
that.
to do that, and very patriotic, as many of you sort of know. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed growing up there. I tell you, I look at a lot of people that moved around and have done different things, and I'm just thankful for having a childhood in that way. When I was there, my father, actually before he was, my father, Ted, lived when in Daytona, was the engineer at the Old Ormond Hotel. I don't know how many of you remember that, but
yes, you talked about that in your bio.
Huge place.
He was what did he do for that? He built it? He worked there?
He was the engineer there.
Oh, the engineer.
They handled
That's awesome.
Anything that went wrong, he handled it. He also contracted back before I came into this world. He brought the first transportation or public transportation into Daytona Beach. They from Philadelphia, Daytona bought 3 buses, and he contracted to go up and bring those back to Daytona. I somewhere had a picture of him getting off the bus, which is pretty cool.
So he brought the public transportation here, but that's sort of where you got here, because there was Philly somewhere in there.
Yeah, Philadelphia is where my father was from, and I guess that he was the one that somehow found out that there was buses available. They were buying new buses, and so Daytona Beach bought them. So after that, we moved to DeLand. I lived there, grew up there. At 6 years old, my father actually at that point was working for what's called the State Road Department. The State Road Department at that point is now called DOT, Department of Transportation. A lot different then.
Did they have cars back then? I'm just curious. Just to go along with your pristine dirt
comment. The steam coming out of them. But I remember as a kid riding in one of the front of the truck with them, where today they wouldn't even come close to.
No, you can't do that.
But he cool stuff.
Do you think your parents were part of the reason why you are who you are today and what you're working on, right? Because a lot of people come on here and say, my parents had nothing to do with it. But it sounds like yours did.
The most important thing I think I can tell you is that I remember, and first let me tell you is that at 6 years old, we had, long story short, my father died, and I was right beside him when he did. We were loading hogs, of all things, into a cattle truck to go to the market, and he had a heart attack. And,
oh my gosh!
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Sorry.
Yeah, it is what it was. You know, we all sort of go when it's time for us to go, in my opinion. So, but at 6 years old, to sort of answer your question, I felt that I needed to become the man of the family. So I mean, I'm pushing the lawnmower like this, and I literally remember that stuff, thinking I really needed to do this, and don't complain about it. I need to do it, and I did for my mom. But from all of that, one thing that I remember so much is that my mother was loved unconditionally by my father. It was just a neat thing. I never thought of that until really later in life. But I remember us going and stopping to get an ice cream cone and stuff like that, and because my mother liked ice cream. Well, the fact of the matter was is that my dad really liked ice cream. So I came by my ice cream fetish quite honestly.
I love it.
I'm afraid, so.
But you knew that, you could see that, and later on reflect on it, that kind of love between your parents. I think that's so important. I think he showed it to her, and you sensed it, and you knew it. You might not have known it then, but you knew it enough to have it as a memory, and then you reflected on it as an adult and understood it. That's awesome.
That's a very good point.
That's awesome.
That I do believe that at an early age, and I think in today's world with all the things going on, one of the important things that I see is that you think, well, the kid was 5 years old or 6 years old, they don't know what's going on. We're getting a divorce, or we're doing this or doing that. The reality is that the kid knows. I remember that stuff, and I'm over 40 now. And
I thought you were just over 30, Bob.
Yeah,
I'm hitting 25 soon.
I look
so
good for my age.
You do.
Look at my Facebook. It says
You do.
It gives my true age, so you can figure it out. I was born in 1908. So,
I understand.
Anyhow, we moved to DeLand. I grew up there, went to high school there, had a great time. I looked at all the things that we did. I saw the high school change and the town grow. And after I shortly after I graduated, I got a little summons from the U.S. Armed Forces that said, let's see what you look like in an Army uniform.
I love it.
And so I really didn't like the idea of, with all due respect to the Army, I wanted something different, and I wound up joining the Marine Corps.
As a Marine.
And
how long did you serve?
A year, 9 months, and 8 days.
Not that we're counting.
Not that we're counting, but I got a bit of an education in business law while I was there. They actually paid me, so this is what one of the things I was saying earlier is that of all the things that I'm going to tell you that I've done, one of the things that I failed to do when I was born was selecting rich parents. So I didn't exercise that option, and I think in the long run, I think it's probably worked well for me, because I would have probably floundered everything.
But so you come out of the Marines, and then that transition seems to be difficult for anybody who comes out of the military. So did you know what you wanted to do next? Or were you kind of floundering for a little bit?
Oh, goodness. I knew I wanted to be out of the Marine Corps. I liked it.
There's a number one goal there.
I learned so much there. Don't get me wrong. I'm extraordinarily proud to still be a Marine. As they say, once a Marine, always a Marine, and that's absolutely true. The things that you learn there, the heart and soul of what that organization is and what our country is about is absolutely true. It's very close and dear to my heart. So, anyhow, when I got out, I actually went into business for myself. It was the first time my exposure to other business, and I got an opportunity. A friend of mine had a paint and body. I don't think I shared this.
I don't think so in your bio.
Had a paint and body shop, and I I opened that up. I basically took it over and did a lot of airbrush work. This was back in the 70s, and
you think that's what led to your love of signs?
May have led to my love of women a little bit. I did some airbrush work that was pretty fun.
But you got
again it was the 70s.
That's a whole. We have that here. It's called I don't know what it's called now. Nude night.
Yeah, very similar.
Very similar. But you got married at 25.
Yeah.
All right. So how did you meet? How did that all work? You're not married now. Just
no.
So you share what you'd like to share about that.
Yeah. So well, first off, I had after that business, I went to work building a condominium company that had 64 units, and enjoyed doing that. I mean, my father was a carpenter. I knew carpenter work. I worked with my hands. I understood construction, very mechanically inclined, I guess.
Good for you.
And from that, I got the opportunity to build a sign for the construction company. This is how I got into the sign industry. And they had a new entrance on the other side on State Road 15A, and I built a new routed sign. I thought, God, this is cool. I actually made extra money, and it's not like a regular paycheck.
Did you build it and design it?
I designed it and built it.
Okay, that's amazing.
Build it right there. So I did that and realized that what happened, what caused me to get into the business was by default. 2 weeks before Christmas, our paychecks came from the construction company, and oh my goodness, they weren't signed. And yeah, exactly. And that was sort of the beginning of the end. That actually was the end of that company. I took 2 weeks before Christmas. I took a $75 paycheck. I went and paid $70 at that time for a very small warehouse unit that my van would fit into. And
was that a Chevy van?
It was actually a Dodge van.
Okay.
It was actually a new Dodge van. So that was my closest thing. We had gone to Mexico after coming back, and with a couple of guys went there to go surfing and had a good time. So this was like, okay, Bob, get your butt together and let's make this stuff happen. So anyhow, I took $70 of it and rented the warehouse. I opened a charge account at Diesel Paint and Glass, and another one at the lumber yard, and I put $5 in my pocket for.
Did you have any accounts at that time?
None.
Okay, so you're just going into, it's kind of like the law of attraction. You decided to build it and they will come, right? So you built the business.
Built the business.
You built the business. You got the business ready for clients.
Yeah, and I started doing stuff. I made Christmas. First time I did it was a place called Bill's Flower Shop in downtown DeLand. And it went from there, and I wound up doing different stuff.
You've done a lot of the signs here. You were pointing out, you guys can't see it because we don't have multi-camera here, but the SunTrust sign, right? You did the SunTrust sign. So that giant one downtown, you did that.
Stuff that you would recognize would be the SunTrust Tower, OUC behind us, Bank of America Tower, all of that stuff we designed and installed. I think OUC, since they changed the building with the lofts going in there, they've actually relocated that, which was done by another company. But that same sign is the sign.
And you get to a point, so the sign company is obviously doing well if you're doing the SunTrust building sign.
Well, yeah.
You had really worked
back in DeLand, and at that point, I've been in the business really two different times because of the economy in 1990. But at that point in DeLand, I built the business up. We were doing a lot of work there. We actually wound up doing stuff for Sun Bank at the time before SunTrust, and had built to a point that we were doing about 85% of all of their work across the state. That's how much we had grown the company from a $75 initial investment. So it was quite interesting and quite proud. While still in DeLand, surprisingly so, they have the JCs there in the Chamber of Commerce has an award called the Outstanding Young Leader, and they don't really tell you who the recipient is. And to get me, I turned out to be the recipient, quite honorable. And
that was just a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah,
Outstanding Young Leader.
Just a couple of years ago. Yeah, young. Operative word being young.
I get it.
So anyhow, that quick little story on that is that Randy Jackson, for the people in DeLand know this story, but he had told me, he goes, I believe that they are getting that Randy, was receiving the award for Outstanding Young Leader, and he wanted me to go and be there for sure. And I told him, I can't go. I'm not doing that this year. I've got other stuff going on. And he goes, no, man, you've got to be there. So finally, and he told me that at the last.
It was a ploy.
I wouldn't go. Yeah,
I got
he's
you.
a good friend of mine.
I like
good
that.
Friend of mine, one of my best friends. We owned a couple of pieces of property in the downtown area. And at this point, prior to this, we'd started the Main Street program, which quite honorably, the city of DeLand, or the Main Street program in DeLand, just this last year was awarded the #1 Main Street program in all of the United States, which I'm so proud of. We were one of the initial people that started it. I served as the design chairman the first year, vice president, and a couple of terms as president. Really a good group of people, and they've taken it. It's been more than 3 or 4 years now since that happened. And,
just a couple of years. All right, but people are asking because I see them posting. So you have a couple of things to still cover. You have, and not that we're out of time. I just want you to. There's so much we talked about in your intro, or before. Actually, Bob and I had a great conversation before. So we have a title of the show, which is me, and you. There's 4 me's in there. So we have to talk about that. But you have something that you wanted to share about. Do you have your businesses? You've been incredibly successful. One of the things Bob and I share is that we're horrible about people not knowing what we do for a living. We both need improvement on that on a daily basis. We're working on it. We're in a support group for that, I'm sure. It's definitely in a support group, which I know my family would find hard to believe that I don't talk about myself a lot, but it's sometimes difficult. I am so enthralled by other people that I enjoy hearing about them, and then I forget to talk about me, which is all about business. But you have some amazing things that happen in your life, and when I say amazing, don't kill me for this, but you had something health-wise that changed your perspective, and I loved how you talked about it today. So, hey, Steve Fulmer, thank you for that. He said 2 amazing guys. Good to see you both. And Clay Dudley did too. Hey, Clay.
What's up, Clay?
We love him. So give us some of that, because I think people look at successful people like you and go, he's never had any struggles, he's never gone through anything crazy. This is how people, because what they see on social media, we talk about this all the time, people see it on social media and they think, well, my life is never as good as that, or my life is never as good as reality TV. Yes, he's got a new lease on life. Let's talk John Wild, I love it. So give them some background on that, because we all have that. There's pivotal moments in our lives, and this was one of yours. Correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Chuck. Thank you. I'm an open book when it comes to things like that, so I think it's important. I believe that we have an obligation to share our life and to share what goes on with people.
I agree.
I'm only talking about about my background and what I've done, and to give you a wide variety of what's happened. Once I left, to bring it forward a little bit, once I left DeLand in 1990, the economy took a dive. Everything went south. The marriage that I got married at 25 went south. It was just a different time. It was a time when all my stuff got put on the street, on the curb. The building that used to be a Scotty's building that I bought and acquired $100,000, and it all went away. All my toys went away, and I cried a lot. I did a lot of soul searching for what was going on, and I wound up.
Kenny wants you to talk louder.
I wound up. I don't want everybody to hear this. No,
I know he got softer,
really
right, guys?
Really
he really does want you to hear it. But thank you for that, Kenny.
But yes, thanks. So anyhow, once everything went away and I sat there and dealt with all the things that were to happen, I decided that if I ever start again, I'm going to start back in Orlando, because obviously all of the work that I did was in Orlando. It was the closest market to where I was, 40 miles away in DeLand. Loved DeLand, but I really needed to get closer if I was going to be efficient and start this over again. So I did. I started down here, which was when we did as Ted mentioned, the Bank of America stuff,
Who's Michelle? She's telling you to be louder.
All of the stuff. I can't talk any louder.
No, you can. There it was.
These people.
That must be. Hi, Michelle. Because we want to hear it. They want to hear it. There you go.
All right. So Let me talk into your microphone.
You could totally do that. It's fine.
So
Wouldn't be the first time, trust me.
Hilarious. I love it. This guy's the best guy. Trust me. I don't care what he says.
No, Kenny, Bob doesn't have a mic. That's why. We're working off my mic.
It's all good.
So that's why. He just has to talk a little bit louder.
So, anyhow, came down here. The business was very successful, took off. And when 9/11 happened, remember that? Just a few years ago, seems like. All the toys went away again, and I learned social media and such like that. Well, part of what happened, and after all of that happened, I mean, it's been very successful in that industry. One day, I had in my marketing, I have a media company now and in that company, I have a client in downtown Orlando, and I was going to see that client and working through some stuff and contracting with them to market their financial company. And in doing so, I'm walking through the parking lot, going, my God, I've got to start working out. You know, I'm definitely not getting old, but I need to start.
No.
I need to start working out. I haven't been doing that. I didn't feel like I was out of shape. Get to the edge of the parking lot, and man, out of breath. So day 2, the same thing happened, and I get home that evening, and I work late a lot. You know, as a lot of IT type related people do. And I go to lay down and go to bed, and I feel that. Wow, I just feel out of breath. Like, you know, I still feel out of breath. I'm not feeling quite myself. And so I went to lay down, and this is a little scary part here, and I'm going to ask you all to you know, if you have stuff like this, to pay attention to it. But I laid down, and when I go to sleep, I'm out. I am totally out.
Lucky.
Yeah,
I am not.
I sleep well.
Good for you.
When I laid down to go to sleep, the feeling that I had, though, is my breathing, is that I might not wake up. And that was a strange feeling. I've never felt anything like that before. So what did I do? I got up, I made coffee, I drank coffee, you know, we're out late at night running the roads and stuff like that and having a good time. And, you know, I would stop and get breakfast at wherever it is in the middle of the morning after, you know, being out and about with friends. And I'll drink coffee and I go home, and trust me, I go to sleep the same way. The caffeine does nothing to me. So I'm trying to think, well, you know, I go to make coffee, I lay back down, nothing happens. I get up and I take a shower, lay back down, nothing happens. I get up and I work another hour. Think I'm just not tired enough yet. Nothing happens. I finally decide, well, I can't stay up, and I don't know what's going on. I live about a block and a half from the Florida hospital in Altamont. And I thought, you know what? I probably need to just go get checked out and see what's going on here. Something's wrong. My breathing, and I thought it was breathing. I had not even a clue that it had anything to do with my heart, of which it was. So I go to the door, and in typical guy style, I go to the door, and I almost close it, and I go, Bobbly, are you really going to go to the hospital? I asked myself that, and I had to answer it with, what else are you going to do? You've made coffee, you took a shower, you tried to work on it, go get checked out. So I did, and of course from there, with a little bit of history, they go, yeah, we're just going to keep you overnight and just see what's going on. And I parked in 2-hour parking, so I'm going, okay, well, that'll be fine. Well, 22 days later, I come back, and you know, they didn't tow my car. Somebody,
that was nice.
Yeah, one of the girls came and moved it, but. Anyhow,
what'd you learn from that? Like, what is the thing you want to leave them with on that?
Well,
changed your perspective, right? That's what you said.
Changed my perspective.
Changed everything.
Totally did. Is that, you know, I realized that I'm not bulletproof, and we all, guys especially, I think we think that we are. You know, I've had a successful life, been up and down, had a pretty good handle on it, and I thought, oh my goodness. So literally, I wound up having open heart surgery. You know, they split you down the middle, open you up, deflate your lungs, put the hearts in their hand. Oh my goodness! I'm glad he told me that afterwards.
Oh yeah, I don't really want to know. Well, a lot of people know it going in, though, right?
Yeah, the one thing
that's a lot to handle.
It's interesting, and I want you all to sort of know this, is that most people have heart attacks, and I didn't have a heart attack. I had a valve that had gone bad. Actually, I think from an earlier infection that I had that was some stuff in my blood. Never did find out what that was about, but it caused my heart to deteriorate, the valve part to deteriorate, and it happened. So, everybody goes, "Oh, you need to eat well." Well, I ate good. I ate really good for the holidays here, but anyhow, that really wasn't what it was about. But the lesson that I got out of all of that was really more of, you're not invincible, and I came out of it. There were so many, I'm going to call them angels, watching over me. I had, before I moved, I lived in a place called Brantley Place over in Apopka, barely into Apopka out of Altamont, literally about 800 feet into Apopka, so Altamont Springs. And I had a guy that had moved in, his name was Thompson is his last name, and he was across the street, and Paul is his first name. And anyhow, Paul helped me move when I moved out, became a really good friend, and he had helped me move into the condo where I live and currently live in Altamont. And I just knew that Paul was a doctor, and that's all I knew. He had 4 kids that he had adopted and stuff like that. Extraordinarily nice guy. Well, ironically, the day that I got out of surgery, the day that I got out of the recovery room and stuff like that, I'm sitting in this great space, and Paul calls, and I'm going, God, how do I tell a guy on the phone that I haven't talked to in 2.5 weeks that I just had open heart surgery? Tell him just like it was,
Right.
So hey Paul, how you doing? How you doing? Well, Paul, I'm up in the hospital and I actually had open heart surgery. What would you think his response would be? His response was, "Oh, who did the surgery?" I'm like,
I love
Dr.
that,
Acola? Oh, well, tell him I said hi. Tell Sandy I said hi. I'm going, how do you know? So I tell the doctor that, how in the world do you know Paul Thompson? Paul Thompson was the senior lead surgeon on their team.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a great story.
That's not an angel looking out for
That's
you.
a huge angel. And John Wilde said, you're right, John. Listen to your body. Most times it warns you. When in doubt, get checked out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that's sort of my point there. One of the things that Dr. Cola, Kevin, came to me and said the next morning after the surgery, and I took it as sort of a joke, the more I thought about it, is that they replaced a valve midway through my life, and basically a new valve, like I was a brand new baby. And he came to me and told me, he said, you need to realize and understand that you might wind up living longer than your peers. And I'm going like, great. Well, you don't really think about that, but it's an interesting thing, and I felt like there was a real responsibility to live that rest of my life, and the gift that I was given to be more of an example and to be be good with what I do.
We also said, and we're already at almost 1:30. So you also said something before the show started that you knew going into it that it wasn't your time. I loved that. So
absolutely,
give them a little bit of that before we start wrapping up and giving all of your, because we'll obviously have to have you back, giving all your information and everything. Because obviously Bob is going to tell you a lot, and I want you to get some of his expertise, a lot of his expertise. But this has been good about your health part and your background, because I think it's so important. But you felt like this isn't it. You knew. That's what you said.
I knew it was not it. I knew that I was here for a greater purpose. I've always known that for whatever reason. And I'm going to tell you that that's really where the title came from. The me, and you really has to do with you, and it's about learning who you are and paying attention to who you are, just like I had to learn with my own self. And at my maturity, we won't call it age, but at my maturity, you start to realize really what's important, that it's not all the things, it's not all the gold. Do I need $1 billion? I just need a couple of million. It's going to be fine. So
no doubt.
So, and I'm sure that that's coming. I really do believe that's coming. 2018 is a great year.
Amen.
My point is, my point with all of this is to listen to your body, to listen to who you are, and become a better person with who you are. I'm very much more of a spiritual person these days. I've got a client that I've worked with for the last year. Her name is Dorian Light. I've created the website and her brand and all of that stuff. And not that she's forcing me to learn it, but indirectly I've learned a different way of infinite possibilities.
Because she's spiritual.
She's very spiritual.
Right.
This universe that we're in is a lot bigger maybe than they thought about it.
I agree.
A few hundred years
I totally
ago.
agree.
I personally, my personal view is that I'm representative of positive energy. I believe there's positive and negative energy, and I try to be the positive energy. Simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less.
I totally agree.
This body that I'm in and who I am, when it passes, when it expires, when that heart does finally quit, my energy, I do believe, will go on and come back some other way. My belief, that's my personal thing, but in doing that, understanding who you are and understanding to be positive and to give something back to this world is really where my heart is now. That's really what I want to do and what I want you to understand, that it doesn't matter, the money doesn't matter, it's really who you are as a person. Paying it forward, being the right soul, the right energy in the world is really the strength.
It's so important, and I think a lot of people are struggling, and they don't understand why they're struggling, and I think because they're so focused on the money and they're not focused on the right things. And I had a great conversation with the ladies next to me who were on the show in the background last week about the fact that you have to kind of put it out there. You've got to do the right thing and you've got to build, and it will come. But if you're so focused on the money and not doing the right thing, then you can't accomplish the things that we're trying to accomplish.
I want to say one sort of last thing in closing is that, and this is really if I could give you a key to life, this would be my key to the life. And a lot of people I've got a lot of history. That history is nothing more than lessons of who we are, and has taught me to be who I am now. The future that is available to me, that I hope for and wish for and will experience at some point, is the future. I can't be anxious about that, and I can't live in the past. The key is to live today, to live in the present, and to be yourself, and to make the decisions for you and for the direction that you feel that you're going. And if there's one thing I can tell you, is to be present, to live in the present, be here now.
Great.
And I try to do that.
You do it every day. That's one of the. I mean, and I want to reiterate the fact that one of the great things about Bob. There's many, but when he walks into a room, it's a positive thing. He's got the great smile. He's very energetic, enthusiastic, and you feel received instead of pushed off. And that's such a great thing to leave people with. Look at that. So you've been a joy to have on. Thank you so much. I wish we had a ton more time because we have a lot more to cover, but we'll continue to do that. We've got some things coming up, some awesome developments in the last week or so, today for sure. We love you guys. Let us know what you thought about the invite that we created for today's show. We also have an invite for tomorrow's show. I'd love your feedback. But you've been a joy to have on, Bob. Lots of wisdom. So glad you're still here with us. Appreciate your friendship very, very, very much. See, even Diana says, always positive energy. We have a lot of fans on here today. A lot of great comments, which Bob will go back through, and we'll repost and put all of his contact information. We still don't know the second half of what Bob does, so he'll have to come back and talk about that. But thank you for being on here. Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you tomorrow. Love you guys.